Will Smith is one of the most recognizable stars in the world. From the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air to becoming a blockbuster movie king, he's built a career most artists could only dream of. But here's the strange part. Despite his success in rap, multiple platinum albums, Grammy Awards, and sold-out tours, hip-hop culture has never truly respected him. Why is that? Why does one of the most famous rappers turned actors in history remain an outsider in the very culture he helped bring to the mainstream? Today, we're breaking it all down. The clean rapper image. Will Smith first burst onto the scene in the late 80s as the Fresh Prince, teaming up with DJ Jazzy Jeff. Their playful style of storytelling rap, songs like Parents Just Don't Understand and Summertime, made them household names. They even won the very first Grammy for Best Rap Performance in 1989. But here's the catch. While Will was getting awards, the underground hip-hop community felt his music wasn't authentic. At a time when groups like Public Enemy, NWA, and Rakim were rapping about systemic racism, street struggles, and raw urban life, Will Smith was rapping about cleaning his room, goofy teenage problems, and summertime fun. To the mainstream, this was refreshing. To hip-hop purists, it was watered down. He was seen as a safe rapper, someone suburban parents were comfortable letting their kids listen to, while dismissing him as soft. That image stuck with him, and many argue it never truly went away. Commercial success versus street cred. There's a strange irony in hip-hop. The more mainstream success you get, the less authentic some believe you are. Will Smith epitomized that paradox. When the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air hit TV screens in 1990, Smith officially crossed over into the Hollywood machine. Suddenly, he wasn't just a rapper, he was a sitcom star. Then came Independence Day, Men in Black, and Bad Boys, cementing him as one of the biggest movie stars on the planet. But with every blockbuster hit, he moved further away from the street credibility that fuels hip-hop respect. Unlike Tupac, who maintained his ties to activism and struggle, or Jay-Z, who constantly referenced his hustler past, Smith leaned into family-friendly entertainment. He became America's sweetheart, not hip-hop's warrior. And let's not forget, Will bragged about this very fact in Getting Jiggy With It, rapping, "The kid doesn't curse in his rhymes." That line alone became a meme in the culture. While mainstream audiences loved his squeaky clean image, hardcore hip-hop fans rolled their eyes. The soft rap narrative in the 90s. By the mid-90s, the golden age of hip-hop was in full swing. Artists like Nas, Wu-Tang Clan, and the notorious B.I.G. were delivering gritty, complex storytelling rooted in street life. In that environment, Will Smith's chart-topping hits like Miami and Men in Black just didn't hold weight. Critics called him soft, bubblegum, and accused him of making rap for people who didn't actually like rap. In fact, Eminem even dissed him in his 1999 track The Real Slim Shady, saying, "Well, Smith don't gotta cuss in his raps to sell records. Well, I do, so fuck him and fucks you too." That line wasn't just about M flexing. It was a reflection of how a lot of hip-hop insiders felt about Smith's place in the culture. Even though Will Smith sold millions of records and topped the Billboard charts, the streets never gave him that badge of authenticity. And in hip-hop, being respected by the culture matters more than crossover success. Rivalries and respect in the rap game. In hip-hop, competition and battles are the culture. Respect isn't just given, it's earned through lyrical prowess, authenticity, and sometimes beef. Will Smith, however, largely avoided rap beefs. While this kept him marketable, it also cost him credibility. When Tupac and Biggie were battling for East verses, West dominance when Jay-Z and Nas were trading some of the most legendary disses in history, Will was rapping about Miami parties and blockbuster soundtracks. He wasn't sharpening swords in ciphers or responding to challengers. And yet, ironically, he did have moments where he could have claimed his spot. In interviews, Smith has said he was more lyrical than people gave him credit for, but chose not to enter battles because he didn't want to risk his career or image. To hip-hop culture, though, that choice meant he sat out the proving ground that defines respect. Even when Eminem dissed him in 1999, Will didn't clap back. He brushed it off with humor. That might have been good for his family-friendly brand. But in rap, silence often looks like weakness. The Hollywood problem. Perhaps the biggest reason hip-hop doesn't respect Will Smith? He stopped being a rapper. By the early 2000s, Smith was one of the highest-paid actors in the world. He went from rap tours to red carpets, from freestyle sessions to movie premieres. For Hollywood, this was a dream. For hip-hop, it looked like abandonment. Sure, he still released music, Born to Reign, 2002, and Lost and Found, 2005, but the albums underperformed compared to his earlier hits. The single Switch was catchy, but by then, hip-hop had moved into the era of 50 Cent, Kanye West, and Lil Wayne. Will sounded dated. The perception became clear. Will Smith used rap as a stepping stone to Hollywood and then left the culture behind. And while that may not be entirely true, since he still loves hip-hop, it's how the streets saw it. The slap and cultural perception. Fast forward to 2022, the Oscars. One slap broadcast live to millions. Suddenly, Will Smith was trending. Not for a movie, not for a song, but for a moment of rage. Here's where things get interesting. Some people in hip-hop actually respected him more for the slap. They saw it as him finally breaking free of the soft image. But for many, it was too little, too late. And it wasn't in the spirit of hip-hop battle, but a personal outburst that cost him goodwill. Ironically, that single act highlighted the very tension in Will Smith's career. The gap between his polished, controlled public persona and the raw authenticity that hip-hop demands. The slap didn't fix that, it just complicated his legacy further. So why doesn't hip-hop respect Will Smith? It's not because he wasn't talented. He had flow, charisma, and undeniable star power. It's not because he didn't succeed. He sold millions, won Grammys, and helped bring rap to the mainstream. The soft rapper label. One of the biggest reasons Will Smith struggled for respect in hip-hop was the label he couldn't shake, being the soft rapper. From the beginning, critics compared his music to harder, grittier acts like Public Enemy, Ice Cube, or NWA. While those groups rapped about systemic injustice, violence, and survival, Will was dropping tracks like Parents Just Don't Understand. It's not that his music was bad, it was just a completely different vibe. But in hip-hop, perception is everything. By rejecting profanity and refusing to dive into darker themes, Will created a brand that made him millions, but cost him credibility. Other rappers often used him as the counterexample of what hip-hop shouldn't be. Even Nas once shaded him in an interview, saying, Will Smith's success didn't come from the streets, it came from the suburbs. That stigma followed him for decades, making fans question whether Will truly represented the culture or just profited from it. The missed legacy in rap. Here's the irony. If Will Smith had leaned harder into rap, instead of pivoting almost entirely into Hollywood, his legacy in hip-hop could have been monumental. He had the resources, the connections, and the influence to push the genre into new creative directions. Imagine if he had signed young rappers under his own label in the 90s, giving them the spotlight while still keeping a foot in music. Imagine if he had engaged in lyrical battles to prove his skill, or even dropped one or two socially conscious albums to silence critics. Instead, Will's rap career fizzled out just as hip-hop was exploding into its golden age. Today, he's remembered as a rap pioneer, but not a legend. The streets give him credit for opening doors, but not for walking through them himself. And that's perhaps the saddest part. Will Smith could have been one of the greats. Instead, he became a movie star who used to rap. So here's the bottom line. Will Smith changed hip-hop forever, but hip-hop never truly claimed him as one of its own. He broke records, won awards, and became a global icon. But in doing so, he distanced himself from the very culture that built him. And maybe that's the paradox. Will Smith will always be respected for what he achieved, but never for what he represented. He was too clean, too Hollywood, too safe for a genre that thrives on grit, authenticity, and risk. At the end of the day, he's a legend in entertainment. But in hip-hop, he's still on the outside looking in. If you enjoyed this deep dive, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the bell so you never miss our next breakdown of Hollywood and music's untold stories. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Do you think hip-hop was too hard on Will Smith? Or did he never really earn that respect? Let's talk about it.